All right, so we've finally doubled back here, and we're ready to watch this. This was a dev update. Joe sitting down here and talking about some things, all things D4, and set new skills and a loot filter. So we're going to go ahead and watch this through. Might be a little less than 6.5. I would imagine around maybe like 5-ish plus. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and watch this.
And we haven't read any of these. You're not a passive observer. When the battle pass becomes available, you'll be earning big drops of favor. Now, I'll progress you through the battle pass. Bring it back. Bring Sick back, everybody. Hey there. I'm Diablo 4's Associate Game Director, Joseph Pipora.
My name is John Mueller. I'm the art director of Diablo 4, and right now we're going to answer all your questions about Diablo 4. That's what it says on this tablet, all your questions. Gryeth on Twitter asks, would this game be a good entry point for newcomers to the series? I've got a lot of noob friends I want to bring in. What do they need to know about previous entries in the series?
If you've played Diablo in the past, like Diablo 1, Diablo 2, and Diablo 3, you're going to have a little more context for some of the initial setting questions and things that are happening. But Diablo 4 is explicitly designed to be a perfect entry point to the series for new players.
It really is, yeah.
Now, we try to make sure that we're introducing a few characters that have been discussed a little bit in the past, like in some of the the novels and things on the side. The characters of Lilith and Inarius in particular are central to the story of Diablo 4. Okay, so Steven from Discord says, Diablo 4 is a much more realistic and detailed visual style than the more painting-inspired Diablo 3. How does this affect how the game is designed? Does this darker look and tone mean you need to change the approach to enemy environments or even UI UX design?
The contiguous open world of Diablo is entirely built for combat and also exploration. So we have this really wonderful experience of going through the world and discovering, all the altars to Lilith, all the strongholds, all the different events that you can discover, as well as the main campaign. But does it affect the UI UX design, Joe?
It's important for the player to have the right amount of information where we don't take them too far out of the experience of fighting in these environments. And the darkness around that does allow actually certain UI elements to actually pop more easily.
Emma Rocks from Twitter asks, the cutscenes in Diablo 4 are gorgeous. How important was it to get these as high quality as they are in the game? We wanted you to go through the character creation, create your identity within the world of Diablo, and then you would see your character in a lot of the cutscenes, and then trying to get those to be as high quality as possible. Blizzard Animation, we're known for really high quality cinematics pre-render. We phoned some friends from Blizzard Animation at times to kind of give a lot of input and feedback, and a lot of those folks actually did the work. The IGC team is actually part of Blizzard Animation, so a lot of the technique, we really tried to make it almost as much as possible indistinguishable from our pre-render with the limitations of the technology as they are. But yeah, JD from YouTube.
So the one thing though that I will say about the cutscenes is they run at 30 FPS. I do wish that they did push that up for PC users to the 60 FPS. Because you do notice, although it's running 30, it still looks okay, but there is still a little jitter there. I wish that, as at least for the D4, or sorry, the PC side in D4, that they would have put that at 60. I feel like that's a missed opportunity, but I mean, at the end of the day, it still looks fine, but I think it would have been nice for them to up that.
Lilith is an interesting villain, being that she is both an antagonist but also the tempting mother of Sanctuary. How do you craft a villain that is both despised and adored?
Honestly, it really comes down to motivations. Villains that we typically find forgettable sometimes are really the mustache twirling obvious villains who are up to no good for their...
I'm gonna stop this for a sec. The conversation of console versus PC, it definitely feels to some degree that they had the main intention for console, but then PC was kind of the afterthought. I'd be really curious to see what is the sales between the two, PC and console, in comparison with their target demographic, because like I said, the game does feel like it's a console port. When does the mobile version come out? It came out last year, but
their own reasons and greed and just nothing else. Lilith's motivations are are deeper and they're more complex. No one is really entirely good or entirely evil, right? It's what are they after? What is the end result that they're looking for? And for Lilith, I think that because it's relatable on a more human level, we can understand it.
Yeah, and I would say, as far as how do you craft a villain that is both despised and adored, the answer is it's all in the eyes. And the story I have about Lilith is, if you look at her eyes, you'll notice that they are not red. Lilith is an outcast even amongst demons. And so you'll notice her eyes are actually like off-put. She has one gray eye and then one blue eye. And that blue eye, the reason why it's a blue eye,
confirmed
is
she's a
because
wolf,
that is the part of her that
or
is
husky.
good. And she is not entirely evil. She's not entirely good. So if you ever wonder, if you see that one blue eye, why is it blue? That was the idea. We didn't want to make something that was just, you know, the red-eyed demon.
Yeah, sure.
Cryptid Scruff from Twitter says, are D4 devs considering the ideas of adding a loot filter like Path of Exile and Last Epoch?
As we're looking at the live experience from the game, after the game is shipped, one of the things we need to do as part of the seasons is continue to introduce new quality of life features. Polish improvements are things would be really good for the game in the long haul. These are the sorts of things that could fall into those kinds of categories. Because, you know, operating a live service game and having our seasonal post-launch content really comes down to a conversation between the player base, the community, and the developers themselves. Like, we'll be able to kind of take from these sorts of suggestions and kind of devise what our roadmap is going to look like over time. All right. Okay. Why don't you ask me this one?
I respect that answer because it's a bit PR-esque. You know, they're saying that, you know, they're looking at all avenues, but then I also kind of go back to the whole map overlay thing. It's obviously a big demand for people to have that like map overlay on the screen, and they've really put their foot down and said no, and it's been really interesting as to why they're kind of like holding on that hill and not really just giving that option. You know, when I think about video games, I think about so many people enjoy the video game in a different way, you know, whether it be regardless of genre and this and that. That seems, in my opinion, something that they could add that wouldn't really be that disruptive, and especially give people still the option to be like, okay, I'd like to play it with this way, or I'd like to play it without the map overlay. But to not put that in, I mean, we've been giving feedback for that. That's been a demand from the community, and then they said no. So it's interesting as to like, well, talking about loot filters, like what is that threshold of like, okay, we're going to action this versus not action it. So I don't know. You know, it's kind of like, you know, play the game, but play it a little bit of our way versus like, you know, just giving the option out there. Like I feel like giving the option doesn't really hurt anybody. And, you know, if John wants to play with the map overlay and Suzanne doesn't, well then, you know, they have that option. Maybe it's a time thing. Maybe like takes a while for that to develop. I'm pretty naive because I don't code and I don't design. So I look at it in a situation, be like, yeah, why can't you just do this? So maybe there's more of a logistical back end and reason why they don't do it. But I still think like having that option is still really nice, and why not, right? Simon says, I wonder if there will be a choice to join Lilith. I actually think we're going to have to choose a side. Hey, Octronics, what's up, man? I think that at some point during this entire story campaign, you're going to have to choose a side. You're going to have to choose Inarius, or you're going to choose Lilith. If you look at any of the marketing that has come through, a lot of it has kind of attested to that. You look at like Inarius versus the Lilith chair that came out. You know, there was a campaign a little bit ago about like, choose your side. Who do you like? You know, like, why would you have all of these types of things and not have that? That's like, it's almost like a subconscious marketing. I honestly think that at some point throughout the story, we're going to have to choose a side, whether it be Lilith or Inarius. Personally speaking, I'm a fucking go with mommy Lilith. I'm going Lilith all day long, baby. Inarius is an arrogant IMO. Lilith just has this like mysteriousness and I don't know, like power complex I like. I'm going with Lilith for sure. I think 80% will go with Mama Lilith. Maybe. Quite true. I don't know. For sure. I think there is going to be a choice at some point.
I'll ask you this one. All right.
Yes, John?
Tom the Bomb
from
YouTube says,
thank you for hooking up Dirty Dan.
What did you learn from the test weekends?
Well, Tom the Bomb, let me tell you.
Thank you.
So I think that people who had a chance to play the beta weekends probably, or I certainly, hopefully understand that these were not marketing events. You know, these were actually to test the game and to stress test the game in particular. You know, we do a lot of testing internally on our own hardware, but there's no replacement for just actually having real players connecting through the internet to our servers and trying to log in and make characters. And when these things happen, we collect a lot of data from what players are actually doing, and we get to see where there are like lag spikes or crashes of any kind. And that does a lot to kind of help us narrow in on the things we can like harden and make better.
Okay, so they're saying hone in on the things that cause people to crash. So let's see whether or not they fix the clan acceptance crashes. Because every single playtest that I've had, I have tried to add people into the guild, or the clan rather, and I've crashed. Client just closes. So we'll have to see whether or not something like that was action. The thing that makes me a little sad, I guess, like I'm very excited for D4, but I am a little bit sad because it does seem like multiplayer function in the video game is an afterthought. I think a lot of people would be fine with Diablo 4 being a solo game, and I think that might be a minority crowd. I don't know, but for me, I feel like there should have been a little bit more focus on like group play, maybe. And maybe there is down the road. I've only tested what most of us have tested, which is, the 20 or 25, but I do feel like multiplayer has been a bit of a backseat. You look at like just the clan navigation, you look at the menus for those types of things. You look at the world boss, then not being able to do it with your clan. It's funny because I've actually asked a couple of my friends. I was like, hey, like, are you playing on launch? And yeah. I'm like, oh, what are you doing for a clan? They're like, oh, I wasn't really even considering a clan. Is there even any simple question? Is there even any purpose of being in a clan? Other than the community aspect, maybe of running a dungeon together. But like, what is there? Maybe going into the PvP and the fields of hatred, but like, what's the purpose of a clan? Definitely the community-esque, like I said, it plays a big role in that side of things, but like the actual functionality, the actual like, what can I do with my clan in the video game? It's very far and few between. Like, maybe you can create a 4-man group and go do the world boss. You can create a 4-man group and go do a dungeon together or something like that. But I honestly feel like the way that the game is structured in a way is a bit more tailored to the solo experience, with the ability to, maybe jump on in with your friend if you wanted to. And I don't know, I feel like that's a bit of a missed opportunity because it takes the role a little bit more, I think, of Diablo 3 versus like, say, I thought that the multiplayer element of Diablo 2 was always really, really awesome. And, there were benefits of playing in a lobby, whether it be the no loot drop chance or something like that. But I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes. But I do hope that they give us the ability to maybe at least at bare minimum have the opportunity to run world bosses with your clan. But I can see them coming back with the rebuttal of being like, well, we don't want people to have to be in a clan in order to do it. And I think even if they went that direction of being able to do the world boss as a clan, I don't think they would have problems being able to get an actual world boss done. So I don't know. But I definitely think like the clan navigation needs to be improved. Like there's no way to filter out by level. There's no way to filter out by class. There's no way to filter out by like, the only filtering is the clan rank. And it's just automatically like lead, officers, members, and there's no way to even like search up a name. So if you have like someone that you want to tag up with, it's really difficult to do that because you have to scroll through a big ass list to like find them in the clan. Also 150 on the clan limitations. I don't know, I feel like that's a bit arbitrary, should be a little bit higher. And then in addition to that, and I think that this was a choice, not necessarily a bug, but the in-game local and trade chats were not working in the beta. And I have a feeling they turned that off. They didn't want RMT spams, maybe, which makes sense, because I think people would have just done that, just spammed. But yeah, I don't know. I hope that the local chats, because like, let's say even for lack of a better term, like let's say, you wanted to go ahead and trade something. Like to do that action of trading a base, like let's say you use Tradery, okay, tradery.com, you go to tradery.com, put up your piece and you say, hey, this is the item I'm selling. Someone comes back to you and says, yep, I'm interested. Okay, cool. The only way, if the local chat and trade chat does not work on launch, well then the only way is to add them to the friends list. And I don't think that that's like, I don't feel like that should be the solution if you want to go trade, because I feel like that's an unnecessary loophole that you, or like you know, area you have to jump through. The thing though is that character names are not unique. So like you can have the same character name. You and I could use the same character name, right? So I don't know how they're going to do that chat messaging system. Maybe when you go to right click that name in the list, maybe it like links to their Battle.net account. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I just had a lot of issues with like the multiplayer fluidity of it all. So I don't know. I'm hoping, I would assume that things are, you know, they're aware of the chat and the trade chats and all that, and the local chat's not working, and probably just had it shut off, but we'll have to see on launch.
Better for the launch experience itself. So we've learned a ton. It's a wide array of things. Even in this last beta weekend that we just did for the Server Slam, you know, the Asheva Server Slam, even here, while it was still a fairly good login experience for everybody, we didn't really have long queues at any point.
It was really good.
We still found some things that were affecting players along the way. Some of them were really minor that they'll never notice. Some of them are major that they won't notice that we still found that would have corroded the effect of the launch experience.
They did fantastic on the servers.
But we found more of these things even during this last one. So we're really, really gratified by the fact that we got so many players to come participate and help us make the game so much stronger for the launch. Matt from YouTube asks, wow, there's only one Matt on YouTube, it seems.
Right?
Yeah. If all I care about is looking like a badass, ooh, language, which class should I play?
You know, of course, they're all wonderful, right? But I think if you really want to look
explicitly like a badass,
specifically, I mean, I think that the Barbarian's going to be your go-to. I mean, the Barbarian has some, you know, I mean, there's just the jacked nature of the character, and also all the armor is like spikes and leather and straps, and like, you know, you just look, you know, a lot of fur, you know, a lot of horned helmets. You know, you really can't go wrong with the Barbarian there.
So talking about the Barbarian really quickly, and I haven't done the math on it to see whether or not it all balances out in the end, but the Barbarian has so many different weapons that they can hold. Like they have like, what, 3 different swaps of weapons that they can have depending on their stance. So when I think about that, you actually get credit for your offhand weapons. So the stats will apply to your stat sheet. The gems will apply to your stat sheet. All of those things will apply to your stat sheet. So just with that in mind by itself, the Barbarians are juiced. The Barbarians are massively juiced because they get all of those additional stats from those extra weapon slots. So I don't know if they're modifiers. So like what I mean by this is like, let's say the Barbarian, you put in a red gem and it gives you 20 strength. Okay, something like that. I'm just going to throw out numbers. Say you put in a gem, gives you 20 strength. Maybe on someone that only has 2 weapon slots, maybe it gives you 30 or 40 or something to like balance it out. I don't think it works that way, but I didn't test. That's one thing that I didn't test in the beta. I don't know if anybody else knows, but do they have lower stats to compensate? From my understanding, they don't, and it's just across the board, and Barbs get a bit of a bonus because of that. So I don't know.
Jamie D from Twitter asks, adding mounts to the game is an exciting step. Agreed. What was the thought process behind that?
I mean, you know, it's such a big open world. Like,
we go fast. We add mount. Ooh.
You know, I always love this idea of like, you know, riding from the, you know, the tippy top of Skazglen all the way down to the lower parts of Kyrgyzstan, you know, without any loading screens, and it just feeling like this adventure. And that was my personal, you know, like hope and dream for it, and that's what it feels like in the game.
I think one thing I'd call it too here that we don't talk about too much, but when we're thinking about like the world of Sanctuary, we want you to feel kind of isolated as you're wandering through. It's really, really vast. You know, there's lots of things to do and everything, but we really want the player to feel like almost like a gunslinger, like the lone gunslinger, kind of like coming into town to solve a bunch of problems, then eventually to move on.
Emelent 1997 from Reddit asks, in Diablo 3, it felt like the characters from past seasons were a bit underpowered to play once new ones came along. Will D4 give incentive to play old normal mode characters once seasons come along?
We really are putting all of our emphasis, or a lot of our emphasis, I should say, on trying to make sure that we've created like the most exciting seasonal content that we can. So a lot of our new gameplay systems, the new seasonal quest line that we'll be adding with every season, all tied into this like really big seasonal theme that we'll have in every quarter where we do a release. Is really trying to make sure that it feels fun to go make a new character and kind of like roll through and play again. With every season, we'll be adding new legendary items to the game and new unique items that you can take those characters and go try to farm for. But one thing that's worth calling out is that Diablo is specifically designed around the idea of capped progression. There's only so much power that you can get in Diablo 4. It's not a never-ending curve where you're constantly finding an even better item and an even better item. There are items get to a certain level of power and then they stop. And it really comes down to like, do you have the right combination of items? You made all the best choices.
Is that your best build? Is that your most fun build?
Is that the best build? Exactly, and the most fun build. Have you squeaked every ounce of power out of the things that you've done, all the right rolls and everything that you have, all that kind of stuff. That's really more of the focus that we have. Says DC2 from Twitter asks, thanks for putting couch co-op in the game. Oh, that's nice. You're welcome. I imagine this makes development significantly harder. Why was it so important to include this in Diablo 4?
Well, I mean, I think couch co-op, for anybody that's played it, is just a really amazing experience. It's like a social experience. It's like, I think playing with like a friend or family. I mean, we've heard so many stories and read so many stories. I know from the very beginning, it was always like, this is we're always testing it. We're always making sure that it's not breaking or it's not being forgotten. Yeah. So through the whole development of Diablo, we were always kind of checking in, making sure couch co-op felt good.
Yeah, I will say this. That's a common question in the design pit. And when we talk with engineers, it's just, well, how would that work in couch co-op? Then we all sit back and go, well, it would work like this. And then we have to like figure out how to account for that as part of the development and the answer that we're going after. But I remember playing couch co-op on the PlayStation 1 for Diablo 1 back in the day, right, in college. So like it's central. We want to make sure that we nail it. And it's fun. It feels fun.
Heist might.
It's interesting that like some of this like feedback is being said, and I just kind of went on a little mini rant about like how I felt that multiplayer was actually an afterthought. So maybe, back to that, it's a console game with a PC port, kind of, there's a lot of different things that you can do from a PC side of things versus like console. Console has to have like a certain flow to it. And that's why it's normally a PC port or like a console port into PC. PCs can basically work with pretty much any scenario, whereas like consoles are very specific. But I don't know. I guess we're just see on launch, see how that multiplayer function feels, but it definitely felt a little clunky. And I'd like to see more purpose behind like having a clan and what that multiplayer feels like. So I don't know.
Meister on Reddit says, will skill trees be further expanded with new branches choices for existing abilities in future patches seasons? I'd love skill clusters like the Necromancer's Curse cluster to have one extra oomph.
This is really something we're thinking about more as part of like our expansion releases. So, which I know we're not talking about expansions too much today. We'll talk more about those in the future. But for like big additions to the skill tree, that's really where they want to be. Now we will be doing like meta changes and tuning on a regular basis from season to season as we go, and adding more like again.
Right there, chat. Right there. That's why I feel that everybody that is like stressing about their builds in this live launch just doesn't make any sense. Like, you can do your research if you want to be prepared and go on in there, but like, don't sweat it, man. Just go in there and play whatever, because whatever is good on launch is going to change. It's going to change. And every single season is probably going to change. I've been saying this for a while, confirmed right now. So, I mean, I don't know, like go in there and have some fun. I think people worry too much about like being ultra omega meta. And chances are by the time you're like getting into the Paragon board, you'll start to feel how that is. And like, and I'm sure you'll hear it in passing by as to like what's pretty decent. I think really once you kind of get an idea of your ducks in a row by level 50, your talent tree is right like so. I don't know. I don't think even if you make a big mistake and you're already up in like 90s and 100, I think doing a full respec isn't going to be that big of a deal. I think it'll be mostly about making sure that you have your legendary powers to complement the route that you've taken. Just like go in there and have fun. Go in there and have fun. Everybody has fun in a different way. And sometimes that's for people looking up and having everything painted out, every single step of the way, having painted out. And if that's you, then by all means. But I think if you're like worrying about it, I don't think it's a big deal. And I think even when you get to the end, if you got to do a full respec and reevaluation of your build, you'll be fine to then push maybe high nightmare sigils or something. Chances are that's where you're going to start to find the resistance. I think most builds will be able to get through and battle it all the way through to level 100. And I think it's going to really be when you get into the Nightmare Sigil and stuff that you might need to start tuning your build a little bit more.
More legendary items, more unique items for players to collect as they play. We will be adding to these things, but likely through the expansions.
Rose from Movies 11 on YouTube says, can we get any info on what the Battle Pass looks like? Will it be challenge-based like Halo, or XP-based like normal levels?
Yeah, it's a combination basically of these two things. As the player's playing through the game, and the Battle Pass becomes available when seasons go live. When the Battle Pass becomes available, everything the player does, with killing monsters, completing quests, they will be earning favor. And favor is basically this like XP that is fueling your Battle Pass and kind of leveling up through its tiers. But you also will get more favor from completing objectives in the season journey. It's going to be a new objective system, and players who are familiar with Diablo 3 may remember fondly the season journey system in that game. When completing objectives and chapters in Diablo 4, you'll be earning big drops of favor for doing that stuff. That will progress you through the Battle Pass even more quickly.
Rob?
Joe's such a good speaker. I've complimented him on Twitter multiple times, but he's actually amazing at public speaking. He doesn't really that much. He's very fluid with his conversation. He's to the point, like he's well informed about the subjects that he's talking about, and that makes for like a really good experience when he's like talking it through.
From the Block on Twitter, whilst the older games certainly had a lot of multiplayer, they were absolutely viable single-player games. Do you feel this element will be lost with the ever-increasing push towards seasons and battle passes in Diablo?
What? Whilst the older generation games certainly had a lot of multiplayer, D3, did it really have that good of a multiplayer? Not really. D2 was like the last one that I can think of that was like very multiplayer-esque. I feel like D3 was definitely like a solo adventure. They were absolutely viable single player. Okay, yes. Do you feel this element will be lost with the ever-increasing push towards seasons and battle passes in Diablo 4? What does that have anything to do with single player? Am I not understanding this question? You disagree? D3 groups will crush single player progression. Interesting. So like if you're doing like ladder pushes, it was better to do it in groups. Okay, maybe I'm a bit ignorant. I feel like D3 was very like solo-esque, but I also didn't play it that much, so I'm a bit naive. I don't understand how battle passes make any difference between single and multiplayer. Well, let's see what they have to say.
Diablo 4?
No, I don't think so at all. So right now, when the player is playing through the campaign, they're playing through a number of private spaces where if you're in a party, you'll see those players, but if you're not, you won't see other players when you're kind of interacting with, like Lorath and these other characters. It's really when you're in these more public areas that you'll begin to see other players occasionally. And we try to keep the opportunities where you'll see them fairly low. You'll see more in cities and towns, much fewer when you're out there in the overworld and the environment. And even in the seasons that we're releasing eventually, the season quest lines, which are self-contained, they're not attached to the campaign of Diablo 4. Even those are going to have, they're all single-player and focused, and they're allowing you to kind of like interact with the new storyline, meet new protagonists, and kind of have a new adventure in Sanctuary during the course of that season. So even then, if you want to play in a single-player environment, you absolutely can.
All right, so last question. Suspicion.
That's interesting that they come at it with that angle, because I actually feel Diablo 4 is a solo player game with the ability to play multiplayer. I don't feel like it's a multiplayer game with the ability to play with it solo. I feel like it's, the flip side of that. I realize that D2R multiplayer, most people play multiplayer for the increased loot, but that was still something that gave that benefit to playing with multiplayer, and it encouraged people to play with it. In a multiplayer environment, I feel like D3 never really had that unless you were maybe pushing for ladder. Or pushing for leaderboards and stuff like that, but aside from that, D3 was pretty solo. Other than that, I don't think Diablo 4 is going to go to a subscription base at all. They have a live service, which is through their battle pass, so that's their monetization route. I don't think that they're going to do like a World of Warcraft monthly subscription. I don't think the game is, games like Diablo are based around seasons. They're based around seasonal rotations, seasonal resets, so that having a battle pass for the season is like their subscription in a way.
Vicious Trainer 82 from Reddit.
Yeah.
How do I cure the post-server slam blues?
You go and watch your favorite streamer talk about Diablo 4. You go find your favorite reporting on Diablo 4.
You post on Reddit.
You post on Reddit about Diablo 4.
Yeah.
You form a support network of friends and colleagues at home.
Yeah, it's
trying to get over the situation that you're in.
The clock is going to move every day. Every minute,
Painfully
every second.
slow.
Just even when we start asking this question, time has passed.
Time has passed. Yeah, just listening to us rattle this off.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, the game is nearly out. It's nearly in your hands. It's been such an exciting time going through the betas and getting the feedback. We're just yeah, thank you. We're really excited about just getting this in your hands so you can play. And it's going to happen sooner than you think.
Okay, interesting. So I guess in a nutshell, they talk about the skill tree branches planned for the expansions, not the seasons. So I wonder what if they'll actually expand on the skill tree branches, or maybe they'll just adjust the Paragon board. The skill tree branches would be quite the change. That would be almost like a rebalance thing. But although they said every single season they're going to look at the rebalancing, so I wonder if they're going to, maybe at one point they're open to the idea of giving us a talent point like every half a level or something, because that's how it is in the Paragon board. You get a Paragon point every quarter of a level. So you get 4 per level. So I wonder if that's kind of the direction they'll go with the trees, and if they'll just add more things into the tree, like more nodes, and then give us more points to then spec into them. That'd be interesting. Possible loot filter. You know, I don't feel like, do you guys feel like loot is invasive in D4? I feel like maybe it'll get bad later on, and maybe like there will come a time, not maybe, there will come a time where you don't really care about anything other than certain items, whether it be for the salvaging of the materials, or maybe you're looking for a certain like legendary power or something like that. But this is always a question. This has been a big question in D2R. Like D2R, I can see like you're doing cows and the items are just crazy. Is it like 31 items on your screen limitation or something like that? You know, this is another one of those things. We kind of spoke about it just a moment ago about the overlay of the map. The overlay of the map is added in for some people. Some people may use it, some people don't. Personally, I wouldn't use the map overlay. I like the map up in the top right. I'm totally happy with that. I don't need anything further. But some people want that. So I feel like adding that in, that gives them opportunity to use it if they want. If they don't want to use it, then, you know, you get the game however you want to game. This is another one of those things. Would I use loot filter? I'd probably say right now I wouldn't, but then down the road, who knows? Maybe I'd find use for it. So one of those things that it's just a QOL that gives us the opportunity to utilize it if we wanted to, but I don't think it's the end of the world if we didn't have one. Maybe there's something to say a little bit later on as to justification of always wanting to use it, but who knows? I don't think it'll be a big deal either way. But I think it would be good to add it in because it does seem like people would like it. Last Epoch has like a pretty advanced like loot filtering that it's pretty confusing to me because I've only played Last Epoch a couple of times and I ended up copy and pasting like a string for a loot filter from like some guide website or something like that because I didn't know really how to use it. But yeah, I don't know. They spoke about lore reasons behind Lilith's different colored eyes. If you didn't know, it indicates that the blue eye, she's got a little good in her, so she's good and evil. But if there's ever an opportunity to choose Lilith, oh, we're going with Lilith. Team Lilith for sure.